Um, First quote, Pam, if it's not up there already, and those aren't on, so I don't know. Let's see here. It says Martin Luther King said, courage is the power of the mind to overcome fear. I think it's a great statement. It really is. It is the mind's ability to overcome fear. That's what courage is. I thought we'd just start right there. What is courage? And then move into the idea of imagination. But before we go into imagination, let me just kind of set this up a little bit with the, and Jesus Christ Heals. Charles Fillmore talks about the idea that Jesus used the power of imagination, and it took courage, to do a number of things. To raise Lazarus from the dead. It took courage. To feed 5,000. The power of imagination took courage. To share the message that he was sharing took courage. And so, as we look at this idea of having imagination and the courage to use it, I think we have to kind of go back to what would be the beginning for many of us. And that is back to first cause, to divine mind. In unity, that's how we describe God. One of the words we use, or two of the words we use. Divine mind. The Logos. That which is in the universe but we cannot explain, touch, see, or understand hardly. But it's there. And through that divine mind, we have thoughts, ideas. And those thoughts create the ideas. And what we're taught in unity primarily, and we focus on, is that each of us is the perfect idea in the mind of God, in divine mind. And that we are expressing and awakening to what we are in that perfect idea. That God sees us in our perfection, which then brings us to an awakening and a transformation. And this year I want us to go a little larger on that. That's a pretty big idea unto itself. But you see, I think there's a greater divine idea that is taking place. It's taking place in our community, in our world. It's taking place in our nation. And that is that people are waking up and changing consciousness so that we can be together in our oneness, recognize that, and become that world that can work together in unison. Come to understand we truly are one. There's not just one divine idea, and that's you. But there is this divine idea of all of us being one because we are stepping forward and awakening and becoming that expression of God. And one of the ways we do that is through this power of imagination. And imagination is the place where all the important answers lie. Fellow's a minister who said that. And think about that for a second. It's that place where all the important answers lie. It's within you, your imagination. In unity, we teach that there are 12 powers, 12 gifts that we all have in common. And that we have them, all we have to do is direct them, which is the challenge sometimes. Because sometimes we have those powers on automatic from a human experience, from an idea that is more of the world and in the world than it is of God. And so we have these powers called faith. All of us have it. We have all the faith we need. We just have to learn to direct it. We have the power of strength, resilience, to bounce back, to keep moving forward. We need to direct it. We have the power of unconditional love. that we have the ability to step into and be. But we have to direct it. And those different powers come together, I think, in many ways to support this power of imagination. The power to think differently. The power to take your thoughts and put them in such a way that you start to direct the other powers so that these thoughts, these ideas, become reality in your world. We are able to create together whatever we so desire. We can create chaos if we want to. And some folks are pretty good at that. We can create anger if we want to. And sometimes there is anger that's natural, but do we control it and direct it, or does it direct us? We can create whatever we desire through the power of imagination. Go to that next slide, please. This was Albert Einstein. I'm going to have to look up here because that's too small. I am enough an artist to draw freely upon my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. I'm sure that certain species, including ourselves, are still evolving to some degree in a physical aspect. But where we really are in the world, as most of us know, is we are evolving in consciousness now. That's the next great frontier. That's where we will break through and make a difference. That's where we understand that we are the perfect vehicle to express that which created us, that many of us call God. To express the Christ consciousness, to express our divinity, to express our belief that there is something greater than ourselves that created us, and we are created in that image, no matter what you call it. And when we step into that understanding, what happens is we get, again, beyond, as Einstein said, knowledge, and we get into that evolution of consciousness, where we have the ability to direct our imagination, to create and make things happen. That's how powerful we are. And when we do it together and in unison, we're even more powerful. I alone could not have had our Caritas guests here this morning. It took a community to invite them in and to do the things that are necessary to make them feel as our guests. And it took somebody's imagination to see us doing it. And that person's imagination grew. And eventually it materialized here at Unity of Richmond. It took several years for that to happen. And so we can imagine together in a greater proportion than we can alone. The next quote I have up here is that, it's not that one. Let's go back. So anyway, I don't have another quote. That's all right. I was out of order. This is the kind of morning it's been, okay? But it's all in divine order. You're really sure of that? Okay, good. It's all God. Okay, all right. Hear that? It is all God. I'm imagining all I can right this moment, trying to figure out where I am, okay? But anyway, thank you. Yes, I am. Thank God. And so as we take these thoughts of evolution, it takes courage. It really does. It's not just getting rid of our fears, and that's what we're doing, but it takes the courage to sometimes stand up to others in a positive way and say, no, I'm going to do it this way. This is where Spirit is leading me. Spirit may lead you a different direction, but it's leading me in this direction, and I'm going to follow. Sometimes it takes courage to understand our families, to understand sometimes the pain that comes being within a family, and to face up to it and to understand that that pain can be healed. And that we can still love our families, maybe from a distance, or a family member. It is that ability to have the courage to move through an illness in a different way than the rest of the world does. And as you do that, to experience a healing because you followed what Spirit told you to do. Not what the doctor said, not what your sister or brother said. You know, anytime we get ill, we get lots of suggestions. And some of them may be great, and some of them may not be so great. But we have the courage to follow our inner drive, our inner direction, so that we can heal whatever needs to be healed inside of us. That's the power of imagination working in and through us. And it does take courage. There was a young woman who was a new nurse. And she started working in a hospital, and one of the first individuals she had to serve was a woman who was about 60 years old who was in a coma. Now, when a patient's in a coma, it's very difficult work for the nurses. Some of you already know that. You have to turn them, you have to bathe them, you have to take care of them. And as she started this process, some of the older nurses said to her, do not become involved with this person emotionally. This person is pretty much dead. And so just take care of her as we're supposed to, but don't get involved emotionally. Well, this young woman wasn't built that way. And so what she started to do is she would care for the woman named Elaine, was that she would start to turn her and she would talk with her. And of course there was no response. And this continued on for a number of months. And Elaine did find herself becoming emotionally involved, or not Elaine, the nurse, with Elaine. And she was actually comfortable with it. She looked forward to talking to Elaine when she went into the hospital, when she was with her. But the other nurses told her she was making a terrible mistake and continued to suggest to her that she did not act that way and carry her feelings in that manner. And so it was New Year's Eve, and Elaine got called into work. The nurse got called into work. And as she came to work, she was pretty upset because she didn't expect to work that day, and she had a very special date. And so when she came in, she didn't act real friendly to Elaine, who was in the coma. For the first time, she pretty much ignored her. And even said to Elaine, you know, this is getting tiring. I just want you to know that. And then about 2 o'clock that afternoon, the nurse came back and said, Elaine, I'm really sorry for what I said this morning. I apologize. I was really in a bad mood because I had to work today and I didn't plan on doing it. And I didn't want to take care of anybody. So I apologize to you. There were 2 or 3 nurses in the room who kind of looked at the other nurse like she was crazy. And as this nurse, young nurse, turned to leave the room, Elaine opened her eyes, and tears came down. And she tried to say what they thought was, "Thank you." That young woman's courage to imagine a simple thing, that Elaine could hear her, and we all know that's true now. But her courage to demonstrate that and continue on in the face of criticism became a big thing for that hospital, because what happened, the word got out. And everybody in the hospital changed their idea of how they should be treating their patients. And that maybe it was okay to become emotionally involved and imagine that each and every one of them could hear them, could connect with them, could be touched. That's the courage of imagination. We so often think of imagination like in things we're going to build and things we're going to do. Many times it's in the way we treat one another. So for this year, I do challenge you to have the courage to imagine, to allow divine thoughts, and all your thoughts are divine, to emerge and to grow in such a way, not only do they make a difference in you, but they make a difference in the people around you. God bless, and thank you for your patience this morning.